If a multi-billion-dollar company owed you $1 million and they refused to pay, how far would you go to get it? Would you sue them? Would you protest? Or would you burn their factory to the ground? In 1992, an entire country had to answer that question. What started as a simple contest to sell soda ended with grenades, riots, and 5 dead bodies. This is the story of how Pepsi accidentally scammed an entire nation. To understand why people were willing to kill over a soft drink, you have to understand the stakes. The year is 1992. The place is the Philippines. At this time, Pepsi is desperate. They are getting crushed by Coca-Cola. In the Philippines, Coke is the king, and Pepsi is fighting for his life. They need a campaign that is so addictive people will stop at nothing to buy their product. So they launch Number Fever. The rules were simple. Look under the cap, find a 3-digit number. If that number matches the one announced on TV, you win cash. Now here is why this mattered. The grand prize was 1 million pesos. For you and me, that sounds like a nice bonus. But for the average Filipino worker in 1992, 1 million pesos was not just money. It was 600 times their monthly salary. It was generational wealth. It was a ticket out of poverty. Pepsi wasn't selling a drink, they were selling a way out. The plan worked. In fact, it worked terrifyingly well. Number Fever didn't just boost sales, it broke the country. Pepsi sales jumped 40% in 2 weeks. It became a mania. People stopped buying rice so they could buy Pepsi. Maids were caught stealing grocery money to buy bottles. In the slums of Manila, people were fighting over trash bags, digging through rotting garbage just to find a discarded cap that might hold the winning number. Pepsi had 31 million people, half the population, hooked on this game. The executives were celebrating. They were printing money. They were so blinded by the success that they decided to extend the contest for 5 extra weeks. But they didn't realize that their computer system was about to make a mistake that would cost them everything. Here is how the disaster happened. Pepsi had a strict budget. They couldn't just give 1 million pesos to everyone. So they used a computer to pre-select the winning numbers. For the grand prize, the computer was supposed to print only 2 caps with the winning number. 2 winners, 2 million pesos total, safe and cheap. But during the extension, the computer code glitched. It selected the number 349 as the winner. The problem? The factories had already printed 349 on 600,000 caps because it was supposed to be a loser number. There weren't 2 winners, there was an army of them, and they were all holding a ticket that Pepsi promised was worth 1 million pesos. May 25th, 1992. The sun goes down, the TVs turn on. The news anchor reads the winning number for the night, 349. In an instant, the Philippines erupts. Imagine the emotion. You are a poor farmer or a struggling mother. You look at your cap, it says 349. You scream, you cry. You think your life has just changed forever. Thousands of people rushed into the streets. They were hugging strangers. They were quitting their jobs. Some people even booked expensive vacations on credit because they thought the money was coming tomorrow. But at Pepsi headquarters, the celebration turned into panic. They ran the math. If they paid everyone, it would cost billions of dollars. It would bankrupt the company globally. So the executives made a decision. They decided they weren't going to pay. Pepsi went on national television and dropped the bomb. They said there was a glitch. We are not honoring the 349 caps. Instead, they offered a goodwill gesture. If you came to the factory, they would give you 500 pesos. 500 pesos is about 18 US dollars. They offered people $18 in exchange for 1 million. The sadness instantly turned into pure, unfiltered rage. The people felt like they had been tricked by a foreign giant. The next morning, the 349 Alliance was formed, and they didn't bring lawyers, they brought fire. This is the part of the story that marketing textbooks don't tell you. The Philippines turned into a war zone. Pepsi delivery trucks were ambushed on the highways, flipped over and torched. Factories were surrounded by mobs throwing stones and Molotov cocktails, and then people started dying. 3 more people died in the riots that followed. The chaos lasted for a year, but then a police officer came forward with a story that chilled everyone to the bone. He claimed that Pepsi was actually paying people to cause violence. The theory was that Pepsi wanted to frame the protesters as terrorists, so the courts would dismiss their cases. Pepsi denied it, but the damage was done. So who won in the end? Not the people. After years of fighting, the Supreme Court ruled that Pepsi was not negligent. The company was fined a tiny amount, about $3,000, and walked away. The people got nothing. No millions, no justice, just a rusty bottle cap and the memory of the day hope turned into horror. So, I'll ask you again, if a company promised you $1 million and gave you $18, what would you do?